guys, man, thanks so much for joining us on whatever this is we're going to do for the next hour. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
I haven't talked about film in a while.
Yeah, well, first thing I want to do, because both of you guys are in New York, so I want to know if you guys are okay. I know we had the big news with your leader in chief Cuomo, so I just wanted to check in with you guys and make sure everything was okay.
Yeah, New York is still
everything
hanging in there.
Yeah, finally everything's solved. It's awesome. Everything, there's no problem.
That's all it took.
Yeah, there's no dog shit on the sidewalk.
Well, we got human shit in San Francisco, so we'll trade you if you want that.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's still a thing, right, Russ? I mean, you still see it.
Not really.
Go to the financial district.
I'm sure. Yeah, if you go down Mission, I'm sure it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's rough stuff. All right, Russ, how you want to start?
Well, I should warn you guys that I'm a little fanboy, and I have been looking forward to this forever. Thank you guys for dealing with all of our scheduling. We changed the whole format of the podcast, and we started doing 2 a week, and Clark's been flying to Arizona every week, and he's just been gone all the time. So it's been really tricky scheduling this, but man, I'm looking forward to talking to you two. So Jason, happy to have you join us this time. I'll give you a little bit of background about how we got here. Via a random film recommendation on Instagram, I was turned on to Fat Tuesday, and well, actually, Oksana brought it to our attention, and we ended up watching it one night. And I was struck by the visual language and just the way the film looked, and how it was obviously filmed guerrilla style, but in the center of chaos, there was the most methodical filmmaking. It was just very tactical precision with this camera. And the only film I could think to relate it to was Toad Road. And we were watching the credits, and I'm like, man, who else worked on this? It's like a weird little island of a masterpiece that I where is the network here? And then I saw that Jason, you were thanked in the credit, and I went, holy shit! My mind has just been blown. It literally felt like pre-internet. Oh, you're looking at a CD and you find out the producer.
You haven't had that feeling in a while.
No,
huh?
not in a very long time. And there wasn't really anybody to talk to about Fat Tuesday. I don't know anybody that had seen it. So we instantly were like, we got to get Jorge on the show. And then when he was telling us about how y'all are buddies, I was like, what the fuck? This is a magical revelation here. And I'm excited to have you both on and figure out how the hell y'all met each other.
Yeah, Jorge and I have been collaborating for a long time. We met through another filmmaker, Jonathan Coet. Do you know his work?
No. What has he done?
He made a film called Tarnation. It was a documentary about his family dealing with mental illness. And yeah, he's an amazing filmmaker, and he was working. Jorge, what film was that he was working on that you and Bradford? Isn't that's how we met through Jonathan, right? That's how you would say it, right?
No, we met just Jonathan would have these film nights because he was just this really intense film collector, and he had these film nights because he had a little theater in his house, and he had us over, and he just loved introducing people. I remember talking to you for a second, and the moment I said that I had the same camera, your eyes kind of were like, oh, hello, friend. And then after that we just hit it off.
Yeah.
What kind of camera was it?
The Canon C300.
No.
Oh no, that was the. Oh wait, you never had the C300. That was the Panasonic HVX 200.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. God, that's going way back. The C300, I feel like that's an ancient camera now, and I'm okay.
All right, just that he's not in his head. It checks out.
Oh God.
I'm not turning on your mic. Don't talk. Okay.
What? Don't tape it. Don't talk to him.
So wait, so y'all have a mutual friend who's like a rare film collector?
Well,
No, he's a filmmaker. He's a really well-known filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find Jonathan Collette.
I mean, Jonathan Collette.
Cowett, Cauette. His first film was like executive produced by Cameron Mitchell and Gus Van Sant.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And then you all just hit it off there with the same camera bonding?
Yeah, well, Jason knew him way longer. He was even involved in Tarnation, so I'm sure he'll tell you about that.
Yeah, Jonathan's a documentary filmmaker too, so we all kind of come from that background, just working with real people and real situations. And I was shooting, I was in the middle of making Toad Road. Well, or was I just starting? In any event, I knew that I would need a second camera, like for sure. And we just hit it off right away. And it was like, wow, I could really use some help making this.
Oh, okay. So y'all met like while you were making Toad Road?
Yes.
Oh, that's so interesting. Now, one of the questions I had for both of you were like, how do you come to these stories? Like, man, Toad Road's tough. And I didn't know if I wanted to start there just because there's almost like urban legend tied into it. But can you tell me about like where the idea came from?
Well, I guess like the Toad Road is a real urban legend in my hometown. And I just, my first film, I wanted to make something that dealt with my childhood, and I wanted to shoot it in my hometown. And I knew I wanted that to be the background of the film, but I really wanted to shoot with a group of kids that were, experimenting with drugs and kind of tie in that whole culture. So really, I had started wanting to make it with a group of people that I knew in New York, and I did some casting here. I started shooting some test footage, and right when I was ready to, hey guys, let's go, I was gonna take everybody down to Pennsylvania, and it kind of just started to fall apart because of scheduling, and it was really tough. So then I was just like, I need people that are closer to my hometown. Like I needed just to recast the whole film, because there was no way that it was going to work with these kids from New York. It became really clear that wasn't going to work. So then I started scouring MySpace at the time. And I was just like looking, I looked at thousands of people. And I was just like looking at their profiles, trying to get like a sense of who might be good. And I started looking through Vice magazine, their MySpace page, and looking at all of their the friends that they had. And I found Sarah Joelle, who was also connected to James and Jamie and the whole crew. So I just went down and I was like, I want to make this film. It's an urban legend about this road that leads to hell, and I just want you guys to be in it, and we'll just figure it out. And they were completely down. So that's kind of how it happened. I decided just to work with people closer to York, Pennsylvania, and they were in Baltimore, which was only 45 minutes away. And yeah, it just kind of came together like that.
How did that legend start with the road leading to hell?
It was just like one of those things like that high school kids would do. It was a road that you could drive a car down at the beginning. There was like a gate at the beginning, and you could drive a car, and they would say like things would happen. So kids would like go out there, drive down, and then, there were stories that like the car would stop, and then, they could see things, like the car would just like, just turn off, or there was just all these things that you heard about, like, or people would go with their bikes and they would like, walk down the trail and see how far they could go at night and get freaked out. And just everybody kind of had stories about it. I never personally did it, which is kind of sad, but I I just like the idea of this road that led to hell, and that was, it was just kind of a good backdrop for this story about drug use and.
Now, do you think you didn't go down that road out of fear, or it was like, all right, this is lame, fuck this, I don't care?
It was just like everybody would talk about, but I didn't even really. I guess I had some friends that did go, and they told me about it, but it was just kind of like I don't know. It was just like in the ether, it was like floating around, but it wasn't anything that that I did directly with anybody, or it just sort of never happened for whatever reason. But it was sort of like something I came back to when I was, because I did want to make a film about drug culture and sort of this coming of age, like self-destructive thing that was just really interesting to me. And I guess Toad Road, it was just this metaphor, I guess, for all of that was it kind of fit that storyline. And it also, like, I love horror movies, and I wanted to have something that was paranormal or something unexplainable. And it just merging all of that together, the Toad Road thing just became a clear connection to my childhood, to like my hometown. And that's, I guess.
So what do you look for in people when you're casting kids experimenting with drugs?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I guess something that feels very like people that definitely live on an uncomfortable edge, like just this, like in the pictures that, some of these kids, there was like, I remember Jamie, there was a picture where I guess he was doing like a beer bong, and then another picture he was like, he was like passed out at like a party. It was just like things that were showing a little bit, that I definitely wanted to see something that was a little bit shocking, that they're just putting out, just by themselves, like, oh, here, I'm just going to put myself passed out, or throwing up, or like, just, like that kind of extreme culture always kind of fascinated me. So,
yeah, like taking pictures of your friends passed out in their own puke.
Yeah.
Now, have either of you ever been there in your life? Because I have. I was very bored here in the Bay Area when I got out of high school, and for like a couple years of my life, I found the only thing I would do in my free time is like drink and watch movies.
And
absolutely.
so, tell me when that changed.
Yeah, I know, right?
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't do either of you have any partying in you? Because that Toad Road feels very personal, but I don't know, having talked to you both a little bit, you seem very together.
Yeah. No, I mean, I went through, when I first moved to New York, I went through a heavy phase of partying and drinking. I actually never, I didn't get drunk until I was 24. And it was in New York. It was the first time I got drunk. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Damn, I was 22, so I'm there with you. And
like, I'm such a late bloomer that I was like, it gives me kind of a perspective on the whole thing that's coming from a little bit more of a stable place, like finding that, and really just kind of diving into that when I got to New York. And then really Toad Road is like sort of me revisiting, because I hung out with all of the stoners and like punks and degenerates in like high school, but I was never, I just wasn't that person, I was like a skater, and I loved kind of counterculture and just like I mean,
did you ever call yourself straight edge?
I never did, even though everybody else referred to me as straight edge. It was kind of just like something I just didn't do, and I felt like for me, just getting through, I don't know why, I was like, just getting through a day, even just sober, was like kind of difficult,
Yeah.
I mean,
they used to
if
call
I
me
threw,
I hated it.
some of my friends would do like acid and like come to school, and I'm like, I can't even barely make it through the day of school without like just not even on acid. So like I was just very, it was like kind of a curiosity. I was always kind of interested and like loved hanging out with them while they were like going crazy, you know, but it just was like, if this is what it's like, I don't want to do that. Even though I would find it very entertaining, I was just like, I can't personally go there. And then when I got to New York and started to really go out and party and just kind of like discover that whole world, I was like, oh my God, this is pretty mind blowing, you know, like, and I really became obsessed with it. And I wanted to like focus on a film that dealt with people going through that. Because at the time I was going through that too, you know, in a way. So it's just like a little bit of a late bloomer.
Now, with your approach to Toad Road, like filming it, were you trying to take like a kind of like walking the line of like cinema verite documentary, or were you influenced by any filmmaker and trying to emulate that?
I guess it was more about having a real experience, not like so much making a film, but really having a very intimate experience with a group of people that I was just really interested in. You know, it's kind of like, I think for my films, it's like I need to be like a super fan of those people that I'm working with to like make the project. You know, it's like it's also like this whole discovery process where it's like I just become fascinated, and then I'm like, I want to understand your world. I want to like just hang out and just sort of like psychologically like unpack kind of this person. So in a weird way, it's a little bit like I don't know. There's a heavy psychological component to it that like I don't know what I don't really even know how to describe it, but I guess yeah, I'm sort of just like documenting, trying to document somebody's psychosis. You know, I don't know. It's like
I totally get it. Like,
yeah.
I think the reason I thought of Toad Road after I watched Fat Tuesday was y'all have such a way with like empathy in your storytelling. There's such a strong emotional narrative in like all of your films. I'm kind of shocked at how effective they are, and I don't really have anybody else to compare it to. Like offhand, I try to compare it to like Harmony Korine all the time. Mostly because when I was drinking and getting wasted every night, we were watching shit like Gummo or like a
Right.
weird movie, Uncle Goddamn. And it's kind of like tied there with me, and Toad Road, but yeah, I don't know how y'all do it. And it's definitely your actors too. Y'all cast like the best people.
Yeah. I mean, that's the most important thing is like finding a subject that you just feel 100% about. And it's so weird because with Toad Road and Felt, I worked with people like James from the film got a Best Actor award, and so did Amy from Felt. And like I just had such a strong like belief in them as people, and just as like it's just amazing to see it go on, to see them go on and win like awards for like acting, where it's like there's just something about capturing them and be like it sort of resonates, you know. And I think that's why it's been very hard to like make, you know, another film, because I've been really searching, but I found some people that I think could do it. Like I really do have another film potentially in the works, but you know, it is very hard to find that in a subject, in like a, you know, a person, just that thing that I relate to, that I, you know, I need to see so that I can like, yeah, just make a film that, you know, has that kind of depth or, you know, resonance.
Potentially in the works is the meanest thing you could have said. I've been dying to see another Jason Banker, and that's honestly, I think, why I was so happy when we stumbled upon Jorge. I'm like, holy shit, there's, you know, whatever this weird subgenre is of like empathy horror, like there's another one out there.
That's great. I love that description. That's a really cool I haven't heard that before.
Dude,
cool.
it came to me now because so before we started recording, I watched Sisters of the Plague again, and we just watched Felt again. And I'm like, man, these movies are so devastating in like an emotional way. And I remember, like, there's been time now. Like, when did I first watch Felt? I honestly wasn't even that long ago, but I feel like I've matured as a person since then. And like, I get something completely different out of it this time. And I don't know, it's magical filmmaking, which is why I'm shocked y'all are here with us. But now, when did Jorge enter Toad Road?
I mean, Jorge, why don't you talk about that part?
It was at that party with Jonathan Coed, I guess, because after that,
yeah. But when you came down, because the scene, I guess the first scene that you,
it was in November.
was that the first time I went down to actually film?
Yeah, it was in November of 07, and it was in we went to Baltimore, and that's where we met the kids, and that's kind of like the first time I started hanging out with you a little bit more. But yeah, that was like when I really came in, and it was like the acid sticking. Just what was it?
I was like the Molly with the
yeah, just boofing it, yeah. Yeah, and that was my first. That was my first trial, I guess.
Yeah, that was an amazing night.
Now, Jorge edited Toad Road, correct?
Correct.
So y'all must have hit it off to pass off this baby into his hands. I mean, I feel like I'm missing something about how y'all bonded.
Well, I think Jorge. I mean, we just, we're very, very similar filmmakers. Absolutely. That's like, it's pretty amazing because Jorge is the only other filmmaker that I would say, I mean, really is similar to the style that I work in. I mean, maybe we just cultivated that together. I'm not sure, but he was already making films too. These really bizarre. I mean, he has so many cool like underground films that he's made that I mean, he's the real deal.
I mean, but I think also he trusted me because while we were doing while I was editing and helping him shoot Toad Road over those almost like 4 years, I had made like I had all kind of simultaneously been making 5 films on the side that kind of started premiering. Funny enough, like within like a month, within Toad Road being finished and being anyway, it was just crazy. I think there was I think we didn't worry about like he was set up. He knew how the film was going to look, what lenses, when, and how, and this and that, and like the best software to like just clean all the fucking just destruction that indie filmmaking does in terms of just quality of noise and and he was always just ahead of the curve with all that, just improving just a low sort of lo-fi, just up close, intimate level, and then bringing it up to a little more of a lush, like when Ripley and Sarah are, having an intimate moment that seems like pretty awesome, and it's just like twisting of ropes and just like fire and kissing and rubbing and making it and doing it, and it's like we just kind of I don't know, it felt like we could both do the job of all the people that we would see and we would see our friends make films, and they're like 7 people making a movie, and we're like, we can do that, and so but we could just do it ourselves, and I edit pretty quickly, so, and he edits too, so it was just like it was too easy to not fall into like developing this similar style, and while we were doing that, we made we produced and shot and my friend's film Hillbilly Wolf, which had the same approach, and he directed and wrote it, and it stars his childhood friend in Shreveport, Louisiana. So it had this really just down to earth, close. But then we did the whole, Toad Road sort of approach to it that we were developing, and ourselves in our own weird ways. And that movie was awesome, and it won Best Cinematography when it came out. And yeah,
You guys need to see Hillbilly Wolf at some point.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got it. I'm gonna be taking notes the whole time. Now, okay, so when y'all are on set, is it just you two? Like, how big of a crew do you operate with?
It's not a set.
Yeah, it was just us.
No, sorry. It's just the word set always sounds so weird because it's not really a set. It's just hanging out at places, I think, with people.
That's true. Part of the whole thing is like we kind of just get together and hang out, and they're like, I kind of make it a point to like take every amount of pressure off of the situation that I can. Like when we're shooting, there's never like that this has to be used or that this is even necessarily like important to the film. I'm just like shooting kind of constantly, and people don't really know, when they're on or when they're not on, or you know what I mean? It's sort of like we're just there shooting. I mean, it's very much like a documentary aesthetic. It's like me and Jorge just go, and part of the thing is like I allow the flexibility to have the subject, like whatever they're doing. And this is why it's so important to get somebody who's very aligned with the film that you're trying to make, because, for instance, the party, the like ecstasy Vicks party thing, they were just having a party. We didn't set that up. It was sort of just like me and Jorge went down to Baltimore, and that was what was happening. And we were shooting it, and we got such amazing, like that scene came out of nowhere, really. And yeah, I think that, our style is pretty much we're there and we're pretty much just hanging out, but, each of us is holding a camera. And Jorge's got, I mean, his whole being, like when he's on set too, like he's very disarming because he's kind of funny and he's just a cool dude. So it's like he blends in very seamlessly into whatever's going on, and we just capture like the magic. So yeah, that's kind of the trick, I guess.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if your shooting style wasn't that way, I mean, it would kill what you were set out to do, right? Because you've got to keep everything loose, and if you've got more people there, and it's just
like a fucking boom mic,
right?
Oh, yeah, no,
yeah, it would just kill the the vibe.
Yeah, y'all are like a tag team Frederick Wiseman or something.
Yeah, that's a good reference.
Yeah, I love Wiseman, and there's a lot of doc stuff that I think that's where I think we met from, because even Jason was working with Jason Coet, and his work is very documentary oriented, and then at the time, and at times just flies off into sci-fi. But basically working with Jason in documentary, we made this other film, My Name is Faith, and he made Squatter, and these are all kind of not straightforward documentaries, but they are not as altered and just manipulated in their sort of structure and narrative as we do films like Toad Road or Shadow Zombie or Fat Tuesday, or it's the documentary stuff that I think Jason used to. The first video he gave me was a little tiny, I don't know what they're called. It wasn't a CD or a DVD. It was like a smaller disc. What was a mini disc?
Oh yeah, like a mini DVD.
Yeah, a mini DVD, and it was just all your skate videos. You in Pennsylvania, So we come from this documentary that has a style. He's filming, his friends, just skating, himself skating, and at the same time he's stylizing it. And I think all that just bled, and that's into what we do. I was filming just older crazy folks in the South before I moved to New York, and just listen to their crazy stuff and get into their just social life, almost like filming without knowing. And I think when I found Jason, I developed that, and found we found a clearer path on how to like use documentary as an indie filmmaking tool, and at the same time just like reach a very high level of stylization and genre, even, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Now, how much shit am I going to catch for not knowing Colette as a filmmaker?
Colette.
Well,
I'm still getting it wrong. I'm going to get off here and I'm
lose. Set yourself up
I
on
know,
that.
and I can feel it now. I can feel the DMs of people are like, "Are you fucking kidding
Oh, wait,
me?"
you're talking
Yeah,
about
no,
film
I
collector,
mean-
right?
Yeah, the film collector.
Okay, that's right. That's how I know him.
Isn't the Ninth Gate? It's about him, right?
Yeah.
Oh wait, that was books. See, I'm just digging a hole. Yeah, I'm dreading that now.
No,
it's okay. It's okay. I'm not a huge, my filmmaker background of just being able to reference all the, like, I'm not somebody who references other people. So it's like, it's fine. You don't know Jonathan.
That's because y'all are too fucking cool.
Wait, I have to interject here because Jason, he deals in a very, he has a certain obedient, like he has a certain rule book. I don't know that he goes by on how to like express the story that he's not scripting, and he does this. He speaks in total genre terms, yet the work resembles very far just the description he's talking. Like when Toad Road was being made, we would just get into this amazing conversations about how the feeling of the film, and he would bring films like Evil Dead and Pinocchio. What was it?
964.
Pinocchio
964. Do you guys know that movie?
Yeah, right.
Clark, you know it?
Sure.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's so many films and filmmakers, and it's like my reference. I have a very small pool of things that I reference that I just like love, like Pinocchio 964. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Pinocchio 964. Now, is that a Korean film?
No, it's Japanese. It's like
Japanese.
a cyberpunk.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I do have magazines with the ad in it. And it's one of those things where, I discovered Tetsuo very late in life.
Oh, yeah, Tetsuo. That's another great one.
Yeah, and Tetsuo the Iron Man. I was like, fuck, I got to go back and watch all these cool Japanese movies. The only problem is out here, I'm a contrarian. And out here in San Francisco, I mean, my sister, she was majoring in linguistics because she wanted to be a Japanese translator. We're so steeped in that culture that I kind of like rebel against it. So even though Japan's hella cool, I tend to not go that way. Wish
Family,
I
right?
I know.
Yeah,
I'm a good friend.
We'll drag you down.
Now, last time we talked to Jorge, he said something that like it's been stuck in my mind, and it was just the way that he approached filmmaking. And he said that he films fiction like it's a documentary, and he treats documentary as if it's fiction. And I don't know, I feel like it's like widened my eyes to.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Good job, Jorge.
Thank you. I mean, it's one of those realizations that you kind of break down into a line, and it all that stuff came from the work. I mean, we worked on so many fucking films, and because we could adapt to a documentary sense of place and time, our friend owner Tokel, he just writes scripts, but he would basically drag us in to shoot these 130-page scripts in 7 days because we saw a room and we were like, just do it this way, and we would float around, and we could follow improvisations, and our work could be edited in different little ways. So it's weird. It's I lost my thread. I'm having a little beer.
Now, before we get away from Toad Road, I have to ask, because it was such an like internet wormhole for me. Like, I don't know, are you guys cool talking about Sarah at all? Because I'm such in a cloud with what had happened there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough thing to talk about. I don't know if it's like.
Well, then let's do this. It's one of those things where you find a movie like Toad Road, and it like I said, it's kind of like an island out there in the internet. Like, really, somebody either has to show it to you, or you just stumble upon it by chance. And it's such an emotional narrative that really worked for me, that you're kind of left wanting more, and you're kind of like, what the fuck, what's up with this film? It feels both real and impossible at the same time. And I mean, just like any weird blemish that shows up on our body, you turn to the internet for all the answers, and you end up going down this crazy wormhole where like reality is just more blurred with what had happened to her. And I don't know. It's kind of like, I mean, it's out there on the internet for people to look at,
Right.
but it's so crazy.
Yeah, I think it's it's not something that I really want to speak to. And it's something that goes beyond this, obviously, like, even for everybody involved in the film, it's a huge tragedy. And it's so abstract, even to me, that it's like, I don't even know if I've ever completely processed it, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember. No, I remember you telling me about this, and this was like 2 months before. What, 3 months before it actually premiered, and
No, it did premiere. It premiered at Fantasia.
Oh shit! Right, that's right.
And it was right after that.
Right.
Look, Jorge didn't even know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
No, and that's what I'm saying. At that whole time, I think there was a lot going on. I was starting to work on Felt too, and it was just devastating. And I think that, like I said, it's something that I really can't speak to it. It's like, it just is.
And I was questioning if I should even bring it up. Again, we can move away from it, but it's just, that movie to me, it reminds me of a time in my life where I feel like I kind of escaped it in a haze. And when I look back on it, I'm like, there were a couple years, man, where all I really got out of it was an introduction to Gummo. And I don't really remember much else that I did. And it really worked as like a third act for Toad Road. And I the other thing I have to ask you about, the one that the scene that is probably the most alarming in the third act is, I remember Harmony Korine talking about film. He wanted to do like a comedy, and he wanted it to be as tragic as possible. And the whole premise was he would just go on the street and agitate people until they punched him. And this was the comedy. And when we're out there, it looks like you're on like a pier or something. And we have is that James? I can't remember the character.
Yeah, no, it's James.
Yeah, James, like, telling people knock me out. Now, when you're filming something like that, he has to be like how much of that is like scripted, or is any of that scripted?
I mean, that part, yeah. No, I think well, this was another thing that was very strange, that that footage, that's actually found footage that James had, that I had heard about, and I was like, you have footage of just asking people to punch you on the boardwalk. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, oh, I think my buddy has it. Like, I was just blackout drunk, and I was just walking around, and I was like, it was sort of like, my mind exploded, and I was like, you have got to be kidding. Like, where is this footage? How can I talk to whoever has this footage? So unfortunately, like, yes, I did not shoot that footage, but I think, within this film, I think the magic of it, and sort of the horror of it, and all of it was sort of slowly, just coming into view because even just the photos that I had found, like I was saying, like, I got a sense of these people on MySpace. They were all a very good, like, close group of friends. Like, each of them, it was like their MySpace had like the top 7 or 8 or however many people were your top people, and they were all in their top 7 people. And I think, like, making this film with them and kind of these things, like the magic of just like James already had some footage of getting beaten up, and I was like, I just, this is amazing. Like, yes, give me that footage. And I just think like, things that happen throughout the process of making the film, I think that's really for me as a filmmaker what I want to discover, like things. I want to like, be equally surprised with what's happening as, like it just really be in the moment and really be with these people. And I think it's so important to my work. And that's why, I allow there to be a certain amount of like organic storytelling that's sort of just erupting out of these people and just kind of trying to channel it into these different directions. And I think like, because even Sarah Jones, I honestly didn't think that she would be the lead. And I didn't think James, I thought it was going to be Jamie and Sarah Joelle. I thought they were going to be the two leads. And as I was shooting with them, I was like, you know what? There's just something about James and there's something about Sarah. And Sarah was actually dating Whitley at the time, who's in the film. And, I kind of said, I really want James and Sarah to be in this relationship. And it sort of created this magic, but it also created like these other tensions between Whitley and James. And like everybody in the whole crew was sort of, at certain point, like there's a lot of infighting going on. So there's a whole lot to the film. And I think like all of these things that happened and all of these things that, just even discovering that footage with James, it was kind of mad. It was a very magical time, and a terrifying time as well.
May I add to what he was just saying? Because this happened to me as well, but it happened first with him. And when on that first time that we went to Baltimore to shoot this Rat Pack, like even the lead, this ex person never showed up. Like Sarah wasn't even the lead. Like that happened to me in this other film. Like the week before, the girl was like, this person just left, and at the last second, I just had to organically go in, and Jason had to do that. And the group that basically he had already picked without his ex actor was like already gold. It was already like a dream team. They already interconnected. Everything that we shot looked like it was part of the movie. It was just like, what? Like, where'd you find these guys? So like, it worked out the way it had to, but it was all an experiment. It's always an experiment. Any of these films, because we're not writing scripts. I mean, who writes scripts? I mean, I know people.
I do think it's important just for the filmmaking process, at least for me, the very first day that you shoot with somebody, if it does not blow your mind, you should not do the project. Like wow. That I think is true.
Oh yeah. Why would you? How could you? I mean, yeah.
Well, no, but the thing is the way that films are made, it's like you get a script, you get money together, you cast people who you hope it's going to be magic. But that's what I'm terrified about with those bigger films. It's like there's too much on the line. Like, the first day, if it's not magic and you're just like, holy shit, I just put X amount of dollars and X amount of people into this, pursuit, and it's not going to work, you're going to know very quickly. So, I mean, just my advice to any filmmakers that are listening, try to set yourself up where you can at least do some pre-production shooting or some testing, or do something where you can allow like your cast to kind of speak to you in actually like a tangible way, because the worst thing to happen would be to cast the wrong people and then there's just no magic. And if you're not making a film about magic, then you probably shouldn't make one.
Have you ever turned down a cast before?
I have. Well, yeah. I mean, I see. The thing is, I never even with Toad Road, I kind of said, here's the film I want to make. This is what I want to do. Are you guys down? They were like, cool. There was never any money on the line. So it was sort of like I went down and just started shooting, and I was like, it's either going to work or it's not going to work. And if it's not going to work, I can just not do the film, or not do the film with those people. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, I mean, there's been people even recently that I've been very excited about, and after I shoot a little bit with them, I have second thoughts because I question, like I kind of can see that it's not going to work for X, Y, or Z reason, you know?
You have to fall in love. It's like falling in love. It's like there's nothing. It's weird. It's like this thing has to drive you to do everything because there's no team here. There's no script. Like this person has to, again, you turn on the camera and they have to be, you know, everything they do, every breath they take is like gold, you know, and yeah, you can't go with anybody that you have to guide to tell who they are. There's a very specific understanding and very unique understanding each time with each person, almost like a documentary, except you're cosplaying in a weird way into this reality TV, not reality TV. It's this weird riffing on yourself, but you have to find the right person. Anybody can riff on anything. It's horrible most of the time, but these people would block the camera and they would just do a hyper version of themselves. It was very beautiful, and at the same time, it had a little iconic little things that are very referential, and people can identify. You know, with the youth sort of, you know, anarchy that happens when you're that young. That sort of it's. Yeah, you can't go forward unless they're gold, and man, those guys were gold from the.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing with micro budget indie filmmaking is like you're pretty much down to the bone. Like there's not there's nothing to fluff it up. There's no extra. Like you're really it's you. I mean, this is just the way that I work. It's like me and the camera and that actor, like, or that real, you know, that real person, that other individual, and you both have to go into it trusting each other, and there has to be a rawness that they're able to, like, you have to give them the freedom to be who they are and to emote the best of who they are. You know what I mean? And it's sort of like, for me, I have to set the stage for that, and then that person needs to bring an equal amount of energy and risk to the table. And it's like when you work with somebody, you may think that this person is the right one, and then you really get down to the work and you realize that they're either too self-conscious or maybe they don't trust you. Maybe it's sort of like they're only half in, you know, and that shows itself very quickly.
Well, then we're boiling it down to just communication of exactly what you want and how you can relay that to the cast. So, like, what makes you guys good communicators?
Do we had any problems communicating? Because on that first day, when he didn't know even who his lead was, and he was just analyzing the whole situation, I was just like in the back seat, just like watching all these wonderful, beautiful people just like do all these insane fucking things and wonderful lighting with great audio, and it's basically Oh, Jason, I'm sorry. I'm trying to explain.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a thing. It's hard to explain it, and you know, just to say how it all, because it's such a organic process that you can't, like. I think I mean, the casting is the huge thing, is like identifying a person that you think can tell that story with you, and you know, I've been doing it a lot lately. I've been meeting a lot of people, and there's so many things that are right, but it's amazing how many things you have to get. You can't get close. You have to actually hit the bullseye with it. Like I don't know how to explain how I get that to happen, but that's what I'm shooting for. So, you know, we'll see how the next film goes.
It's because there's no sets, and I think Jason was the first person. I mean, when I went with him on that first shoot, he had a car that was like, the back of it was like almost touching the ground because he had like C-stands and he has He has all the audio, all the lighting, everything, and it's one person and me, and I don't even know what a C-stand is. And like, and I'm like, oh, cool, yes, C-stand, right, great. And like, because I'm a filmmaker by instinct. He has the technical sort of knowledge and backdrop to the approach, and he just his ambition was very visual with that car, just almost like the bum of it just hitting the road, because it was so heavy, and all the things he would set out to do because he wanted to be in control, because it's something that you can't gamble. Even to he couldn't even have a DP. He couldn't gamble his what he did organically. He can't be having that conversation with what he wants with a DP. He knows what he wants. He can shoot it. It's a weird control thing that I've never seen before, and he pulled it off. Like, fucking people ask us, who did sound? Who was yours? I was like, I don't know, me.
I know, it's so weird. It's so hard. I would love to make a much bigger film with a lot more money. It would be amazing, but I just haven't figured out how to do my thing within that world yet.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. Like, what a funded film, like, I mean like substantial budget would look like. And I came to the conclusion that I wasn't interested in it. I wouldn't like to have studio heads in there or like production people kind of like guiding the story, because I don't think you could make a fucking Jorge Jason Banker tale like that. Like, listening to you now, you all sound like you have the technical skills, you'll have the raw talent, but you also have this like fluidity where you'll show up and it's like, it's a dance you're doing with the people. And I don't know of any other filmmaker that, I hear a lot of filmmakers talk about it, like giving actors room, and maybe, they have a script outline, but like, there's definitely a one-sided control at the end of the day where, like, I watch a movie like Shadow Zombie or like Felt, and it's almost like the lead just takes control of everything. It's beautiful.
I do have to say that our friend Jonathan Coet, he made the
Rare Film Collector.
Yeah, and filmmaking on the weekends, right? No, this guy was doing these cosmic sort of narratives, and he did a continuation to Tarnation, which is called Walkway Renee, and he had us film, and that went to Cannes, and that film was produced around his creative output, whether it was left, right, upside down, inside of that 3D, it's like it was Love Streams. It was Anya's. It was Agnes B. She had just I think between Mr. Lonely and whatever the hell was it, Slum Breakers, and then like Spring Breakers, and then it's like they gave the freedom to this filmmaker that's very similar to what we do, but we learned a lot of stuff from working with Jonathan, but I'd never seen money being put into an artist, and he succeeded. He made a feature. We went to Cannes, and it was great. We rolled around in a car listening to opera with Agnes, and like smoked hash, and it was great, and it was wonderful, and like, and I'd never seen it, and he wrote this broken script that he would rewrite and improvise and not do this and that, and then at the end it was it's very stressful with getting an edit locked, and with a lot of expectations, and he did it, and it was very epic, and I'd never seen that. I'm just pointing out that you were saying that it's what it would be like to just give money to a certain type of filmmaking, like what we do, that doesn't have a full structure, and almost like having more members would totally alter the outcome, the product, which is very intimate at times. But yeah, Jonathan, he achieved that, I think, with the weird films he made.
Oh yeah. No, John, it's good that you brought Jonathan back up, because Jonathan is another filmmaker very similar to Jorge and I think. And yeah, you should check out his films for sure.
Oh, I'll be very familiar with his work.
Yeah.
after we stop recording.
Yeah, there's a lot of empathy in his work as well. It's like there's a lot there. So it's good to mention him again.
Yeah.
I was trying to think about. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Now I was trying to think about other filmmakers that I could even kind of relate to you guys, and the best I could do are you guys Joel Petrikis came to mind, or Eugene Kotlyarenko. Yeah. Do you guys know them?
Yeah, Joel Petrikis, I know his work.
Yeah, it's kind of on the same vibe, but
And Tim Sutton.
Oh, and Tim Sutton. Are you all familiar with him?
No.
What films? Maybe
The Dark Knight. His first film, I believe, was called Pavilion.
Oh, Pavilion.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it actually, but I do know because Matt Grady put that out on Factory 25, right? Was that a Factory 25 thing or no?
I believe so. I watched it not too long ago.
Yeah, you went through his whole catalog. Yeah, and even then, I would say Tim Sutton, it feels a little bit more constructed. Where I don't know, man, the organic feeling of, like, do you guys do storyboards or anything?
Memphis is my favorite of his.
No storyboards, like
no. It's very counter to the kind of stuff that I mean, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is maybe how raw we go about doing the stuff. It's not it's like really not like there's nothing traditional about it. So it's sort of, it's weird because I talk about it and like I remember being like I forget what festival I was at, but I was like talking about the film and basically somebody stood up and was like, so basically you're saying you do nothing. And I'm like, my God, like, are you kidding me? Motherfucker.
So fucking dumb.
Like, I mean, and that it's, it's kind of like, it's hard to express, but I mean, it takes a lot to, first of all, any filmmaker, I mean, just being able to accomplish making a feature film, I don't think people understand how difficult that process is just in general, no matter how you do it.
Right.
It's like not for the faint of heart. And then, for us, it's like, I think I just really, part of the whole reason I'm a filmmaker is because I just don't want to live in reality.
I'm there with you.
It's like, please, like, let me hang out with like a group of misfits and like make magic and like make a new world that like is better than what we're in. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm very much like a dreamer in that way but I don't like to have a script. Anything that feels like I'm locked into anything, like I do not want to feel like I'm locked into anything. And that's part of my process is like, producers have come to me and said, hey, like just recently I had like a conversation with a producer and, we were talking about a budget and I was like explaining how I did Toad Road. And they were like, well, how are we going to spend this money? Like what, who do you need? Like, you don't need a DP. You don't need a sound guy. You don't need a this. You don't need it. It's like, and I realized like how completely out in left field I am as a filmmaker. Like I literally cannot work inside of the system. Like, I mean, I definitely need to try to do it though. I want to try. I want to believe that I can do it.
Well, we made many films for Owner to Pal. We shot them and we were in a system where there's very strictly
but that's totally, but that's not how we work.
No, exactly.
Like,
but that's what
I can work like that if it's not my project. Sure. No. Like if you just want to hire me as a DP, sure, I'll shoot whatever.
Yeah, we can. Our films do not. I just want to say that we can work and we totally understand that setup, and I think that's why we're like, fuck that. I have to talk to 7 fucking people to like fucking take a breath. Are you kidding me? And we would see it and we would talk about it afterwards and not in a like, oh no, we were just like, oh man, our films, I want to be like, fucking 2 centimeters from their cheek, like from their butt cheek, so it's like whatever, it's like we understood and we at the same time rejected that because it just didn't work with how to like bring moments that are just completely, it's like we really want to make these movies that you can't really do a remake because it's all this all these sequences that are just completely, just scriptless driven almost, driven by life, and it's hard to.
I think also on the other side of the coin, because I think that it's easy. I think it goes completely 180. I think like the way Jorge and I work and we get the magic that we get is through doing it a certain way. I think the really big filmmakers that have access to like the best, actors of our time, apparently the best kept secret is that you just get that guy, you get like Nick Cage, and he's going to come in like a wrecking ball. You know what I mean? Like he's going to do so much of the heavy lifting because he's that fucking good. You know what I mean? Like I would love to have access. Like it would be interesting to have access to like somebody of that caliber that, I could work with and make a film that way. That would be amazing to me too. But
I think about like a studio actor like that, like even one with some like levity or like just gravity. And I wonder how they would do with like no script and complete freedom. Like, I think you learn to like navigate the parameters.
No, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I've been trying to, it would just be amazing to stumble upon an actor that would be able to, like work in that way, because I think actors would love that. You know what I mean? I just think that it's hard once because you need these contracts and they need to be protected. There's so many things so many more hoops you have to jump through to even get to the point where you can even say yes or no. Because even like a Nick Cage, like somebody like that, like I would love to think that if I was in a room with him, we could do some amazing stuff. And I believe that's possible, but it's also maybe the chemistry wouldn't be right. Maybe there would be something off about the situation that you would realize, like, actually what I thought would work isn't working. You know what I mean? Like
totally.
To me, I think all of the stuff where you have to, all of the legal work, all of the, getting these contracts, getting all this stuff, it just kills so much of the vibe of everything, And I think that's what I think Jorge and I just run the other way, because it's hard to be in the middle where it's just, you're with some people that got signed on and they're only like kind of half in it because there's a paycheck there and they just really want to be home be home with their kids or whatever they want to do. It's like, I work on commercial, like I shoot commercial work to make money essentially. And I see it all the time. Now, granted, that's like commercial work. It's not like, commercial filmmaking or anything, but it's when you're on a set with people that don't want to be there, or the talent is thinking about something else, it's like the worst.
I feel like we could get Nick Cage for you.
Let's do it. Yeah. I mean, maybe so.
Well, the thing is, when I look at you guys, I really think the only thing you need is somebody who understands your art and is good at like getting it out there, like a publicist. Well, and this is coming from, I feel like we do good work on this podcast. We've failed at that for 5 years now. We don't know how to market anything. And I think you guys could thrive in like a crowdfunded community where people are like,
no, I mean, okay, look, okay. Nothing against like, crowdfunding. It's lovely. Love is love. You can put a price tag on it, whatever. It's great. That's awesome. I love it. Our ideas and our visions have this insular black hole meta parallel universe happening, and it's hard to convey all that and write an email. I have filmmakers that I've worked with that fucking working with the biggest actors right now, and the end of their emails are basically like copy and pasted, just, links to all their films so you can buy them on iTunes and stuff. Like we have a certain almost like allergic reaction at times to that sort of forwardness, which is, there's nothing wrong with that sort. That is Jesus. It's a blessing. Wonderful. It's a magic trick. I love it. We don't. And by even having that allergic reaction, you can see how far we are from like letting a regular setup almost like work with our setup. And the only time I ever saw that was with Hannah Gross. she came from David Fincher, and then 2 days later she was like doing Fat Tuesday, and she was like, yeah, lovely, no script, fuck that, like tell me what to, and she would do this improvisational theater, fucking weird, awesome, just beautiful thing. But 2 weeks before that, she was just like, blinking at, at command. And she's one actress that would work in any of our films beautifully, like, because she has one foot in total chaos and another foot and in a total, dogmatic, forward thinking, way of acting.
It's weird now. Now, I mean, since we last talked, Jorge, we've watched like WTF, we watched Sisters of the Plague, Shadow Zombie, rewatched Felt, Toad Road, Fat Tuesday. We've like been living in it. And Hannah Gross she stands out at the end. And it's not that she's better than anybody, but her role is so different. It's like she's a part, like she's almost like with the film crew. And it adds like another layer to her being like the antagonist. She's really an anomaly in, like, if we combined your guys' filmographies. Like, do I see that alone, or was she like that different to work with?
Well, that movie came immediately. Well, not immediately. Just soon after finishing this other film with Sophie Traub called Fugue, and that just went to a few festivals and just won some few little things. And Jason came to Puerto Rico with me to this little island of Vieques with wild horses, abandoned baseball fields, and the jungles with tanks and fucking, I mean, it was insanity, and it was beauty, and it was what we always do in a place that just absorbs anybody's performance, and you have the right performer. And unfortunately that experience was just filled with turmoil emotionally, because I was involved with Sophie at the time. So and she's she has her own vision of things, and we would clash. And I think immediately after that experience, I just never wanted to make just anything that was just indie-ish, or in the sense of like, oh, it's an indie film, it's supposed to be like that. Like I wanted to make films that from the second they started, they just grabbed you, and just did not let you go until the end. Maybe that, I just didn't feel like that for anything I'd done before. And Fat Tuesday was this approach of like, oh, let's get a person that'll play somebody that has no, like, no responsibilities, or just never has to respond to any consequences to her actions. And my place was so different. It completely changed. Fugue fucked me and broke me, and genre started seeping in, and I was like thinking more of Lucio Fulci when I was doing that. And that's when I was like, I'll shoot this myself, because just like Jason, I was just like, I'll fucking do it, because Jason would shot a lot of my films, would do with me, would do a lot of story developing, doing Shadow Zombie, and so many freaking whatever. But zero boop doo doo. There you go.
Now, where can I watch Fugue?
You can just Google it on Vimeo or something like that.
Okay, Now, because from last time we talked, I know that y'all have like these masterworks that you're hiding from the world.
Well,
and
actually, Fugue was on it's on No Budge, Ken Tucker's outlet for the underground art of cinema. And like he they prized the film, and they gave it a prize, and he had it on there. I think it just got taken down because of Vimeo or something, but it's back on Vimeo. But it was a film that a couple of people saw, and just gave it merit, just gave it something, I guess.
Now, Jorge, I have to thank you. I've noticed that you've been putting videos on Vimeo, and every time a new one comes up, like I think Pre-Paradise came up not too long ago. Oksana's been telling me, and yeah, I'm very excited to watch it.
Yeah, actually, Pre-Paradise was one of the first things we started doing together, and it features even Jason filming. And it was my reaction to working with Jason and our friend Bradford. And I made Pre-Paradise after that because I was like, who doesn't want to see like behind the scenes of these movies? This shit's crazy. Like, this is bigger than the fucking movies themselves. So I made a movie about that, and I kind of made it into sort of an antagonist, filmmaker-driven story. So it's I think it's the most. We saw it recently on a little festival that played here in New York, and it was I saw it more and was more frightened in some scenes than any horror movie that I made, just because we were making some fucking crazy, weird, awesome shit that was just kind of
like... it was great to see it. It was great to see it again after so long.
Okay, I know I'm keeping you guys long at this point. But I have to ask a couple questions about Felt. Like, we're out here in the Bay Area, and we have a great theater community, and we have a lot of film festivals, and I've always wanted to see like a really good, dark, even like kind of on the edge of horror indie film. And we have a buddy, Robbie Smith, who he's a filmmaker. He just moved out to the East Coast, and he was over my house. We would do these sleepovers where we just buy a bunch of beer, and I would let him loose in my collection, and he would just pull stuff out and we'd watch it. The thing is, I haven't seen half the movies I own.
Everyone's in their mid-30s, by the way.
Yeah, everyone's in their mid-30s.
Awesome.
No, and I started talking about Toad Road like I always do. And he was like, have you seen his other film, Felt? Now, this is back when I hadn't. And I'm like, no, dude, I didn't even realize. And he's like, well, you fucking own it. And he threw it on that night and we watched it. And man, I feel like you captured the Bay Area in a way I didn't know was possible. You like, there's one scene where we have our lead playing on that dumbass bow that we have over by the Bay Bridge. And I'm like, wow, I can't. Like, it really, you can really transform anything when you have an eye for film. Because I mean, I pass by that thing every time. I'm like, well, I fucking hate that statue. Like, it's like an arrow aimed at the ground, half submerged in earth.
Yeah.
And
I mean, San Francisco is amazing. I mean, the whole backdrop, that's like a whole character in the film itself. San Francisco is amazing. I'd love to make another film there. It's like beautiful.
Well, it's amazing through y'all's eyes. me and Jasadi were just downstairs watching it before we were talking. And where the hell is that skeleton rowing a boat?
Oh yeah, that was well, that's the thing. Amy knew. I guess there's like there's like a little island right by one of the bridges that it's like a military
Treasure Island.
Treasure Island. That's where it was.
That's on Treasure Island?
I thought so. I think there was like an artist studio there in like some huge warehouse. And that whole warehouse like space, I think, is on Treasure Island.
Now, what? Okay. Now, I love doing the show with Clark because he's vastly more worldly than I am. Coming from Mississippi and, living in Texas. And
yeah, strong start. Worldly Mississippi. We're on a good path there.
He could point out Uruguay on a globe. I, however, have lived in the Bay Area forever. And you guys found locations that I had never known about. And if you found a warehouse on Treasure Island that had that cool skeleton sculpture, who the fuck is taking you there?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's Amy's world. She basically opened up her world to this film. And that was an artist that she knew. And yeah, we just went in there and made some magic. I mean, that was the thing. That whole space, like, it was just amazing. And we didn't have to pay a dime. It was like, that was like just through connections. And
well, how did you meet up with Amy?
I went to I guess it was like some Brit pop club at the time. I mean, we're talking about like, when was this? 2011? But me and a buddy, we were out there shooting an Amazon TV commercial, and we went out to this club, and Amy was there doing this like Michael Jackson dance, and she was like just very like, she's like provoking a lot of people like very close to her, just like going up to random guys and kind of just like taunting them. and she came up to us, and I was just like so interested in like who this person was, and we ended up shooting like, well, she actually that night I think told us about the naked man suit that she had, that she, you know, because we really got talking to her, and she said she would wear this naked man suit out to like clubs and kind of like wear a skirt and then like flash like her dick to guys, like they would dance with her and then she would like flash it, and just like, you know, just she was just a total like provocateur, you know. And I
No, hold on. I got to stop you really quick. You keep saying we, and I imagine you and Jorge in this club with cameras in your hand.
Oh, well, it was me and our mutual friend Jesse McGowan. Me and Jesse were there. He's
cool.
another. But anyway, yeah, me and him were out and met her, and we actually ended up making like a short music video, just to, you know, we just shot some footage with her in these different outfits, and like basically a year went by, or maybe a year and a half, and I just kept thinking about her and just how amazing she was. And I was like, I didn't even know that film, I didn't even really know what I wanted to make. I just knew I wanted to make something with her. So that's kind of how, even, you know, if somebody really is kind of speaking to me and I feel that there's some connection there and that we need to like, you know, just dive into this world, I was like, you know, I just called her and I was like, I actually don't even have an idea, but I just have to make a film with you. And she was like, let's do it. And then over the next like 6 months, we kind of shot, and I ended up kind of coming up with how I wanted the film to end, you know, because I definitely wanted it to be a horror film. I mean, I just knew it was like, it's going to be a horror film. It's not going to end well, you know. And she was totally down, and that was amazing making that.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Like way earlier in the interview, you talked about not wanting to live in like this reality and make a better one. Yet the films that you two make, it's like a hyper reality with magic, except it's always like very dark and horrific.
But I think it's because it's also the way we want to see things and the way Jason and I edit things. These scenes that we're editing are usually documentaries, sort of, and they have this feel of like, oh, drunken man throwing piglets into the ocean and they swim back. Just these scenes that are just like, what the fuck? But it lands. It sounds great.
But the thing, I think the films are bittersweet, isn't that? I mean, I think that's the best.
I'm just saying that the way we edit things, we find this epic emotional core to things, and its reality, it's just an intimate, close portrait of somebody's like just existence or what they do, and the way we edit it and the way we sort of film it, not with effects or CG, it feels like sort of this existential just implosions, and it just feels crazy, and it feels very just founded. It feels grounded. I mean, it feels very grounded and in the docu sense, but then we give it that love that feels almost a genre, like that has a little bit of genre.
Well, there's like, I mean, there's beauty in horror, you know, like in a way, like, isn't Hellraiser sort of like very beautiful?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something about Hellraiser which I saw when I was a kid, and I was terrified, but I was equally kind of like pulled in, and there's like a beauty in that level of like pain. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I mean,
no, Hellraiser is very much about pleasure.
Yeah,
and the good things in life. I just think there's like a gluttony aspect, and it's definitely one I deal with. But now, Jorge, you mentioned that you don't use CG. Yet one of the things me and Jasadi love talking about most with your films is your use of like a confrontational CGI entity or almost like an existential horror come to life through the medium.
Yeah, I mean, we do it in a very um, subtle way where it's not this entity that becomes a figure, this character that the narrative has to deliver now, just to make it part of the narrative. It's just these little instances of flashes of just these abstract, spectral sort of moments. In Shadow Zombie, the mother, and all this is based in real life. But we do a scene where he sees his mother, and she's been murdered, and we add all these effects. It's always just a little bit of a just sprinkles on top. It's never this scene where I'm just talking to the big rabbit. Toad Road sparingly uses these little weird warping moments, and yeah, I mean, we love genre, I think, and a lot, and I think it just spills into it, and the more we get into it, the more it spills. And
well, I think it's a testament to how confident y'all are as filmmakers, because the horror community, they love to fucking tear down a CGI anything, especially when it's really identifiable. But I think in Shadow Zombie particularly, it's one, it's hard to notice at first, which made for a very interesting thing for the audience, where it's kind of like a visual Easter egg. But when you notice it, it adds another layer there. And it's digital and confronting in a way that you can't ignore from then on. And I don't know if I've ever found digital work so powerful, especially when feeding into like an emotional narrative.
That's the thing. It has to be very grounded, like the stuff we do, like the Circle of Friends that the Toad Road has. You could add little sparks of just post production magic, because it's so grounded, and if you don't overdo it, it just makes it into like, wait, what the fuck am I watching? And I just filmed. I'm just finishing up the credits for Bride of Shadow Zombie, which is it just draws from like 20 hours of my whole cast who knew themselves as teenagers, and I have footage of them partying, and it's just, I made a horror film, but it is so grounded with these characters that you're just like, what's real and where does it begin? And at the same time, we're delivering this classic arc. Like Toad Road is like Jason's just insanity of like place and sexuality and horror, and at the same time, he's like, we talk about fucking Evil Dead and and these classic movies that just like have these elements that are just like just really just frightening. But somehow when we enact those things in our films, they just come out. They don't really, you don't really see Evil Dead, but we see Evil Dead. We see all these other crazy films that that are not really referenced visually. Yeah, that's why I think we do horror, definitely.
Dude, Shadow Zombie is terrifying. Like whenever you think of like an indie film that's kind of expressing what it's like to be either an introvert or like lonely, you never see it articulated in the middle of a party. And like not even a lame party, like kind of like a wholesome, like, hey, we're all here and we like you party. And like, man, I don't know where you found Shane, but holy shit, like that guy delivers a punch without really needing to go overboard or like feel like he's acting at any point. And I have to say, that pool scene in the movie where people are wearing I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen Shadow Zombie. There's a scene at a pool that is the most like jarring, disorienting, horrifying dreamscape that I've seen. Dude, I don't know how you like capture what a dream feels like, but dude, you did.
Well, my editing from the beginning has always been kind of
Well, those characters down there are like insane anyway. You know, like everybody involved was like out of their goddamn mind.
No, and the thing is that the sequel has them all back plus others, Shane, and then you see Shane when he was 16 years old. I mean, it is like you see. I mean, it is just it goes in, and it's shot during Mardi Gras during COVID, and so during the week of extreme weather, where I've been in New Orleans during Mardi Gras, and I'm wearing a T-shirt. This time around, it was like fucking 18 degrees, and like it was, we had a drone, and there was like full in bloom red roses, just frozen, dripping water, just it's crazy fucking what the fuck's, and everything's green, but everything has snow on it, and it's just like what the fuck. And so it's like we find these little narrow paths, and we latch on, and we with those with those individuals, we because we don't do it alone. We don't tell them, hey, I want no, like Jason. we have relationship with these people. They're intense. They're not just you're coming in to do the movie. You know it from the moment you pitch it to them. I want to make a movie that has your magic that I think is unique, and people will identify, and it will inspire, and it will bring horror in a wonderful way, and it'll be part of cinema, and they know that, and it's always complicated, and it's emotional, and I think that's all I guess.
Now, when you show a dude like Shane Shadow Zombie, what kind of reaction do you get?
He's just such a real sort of image of that. I couldn't, I couldn't. I met him maybe once, like back in the mid '90s, and it was. I didn't recognize him until I saw the video, and I was like, "Oh my god, that guy! That's Shane!" Because we've all changed, and I'm seeing Kim when he's 17 years old, and then we're seeing Kim in Shadow Zombie 1, and then now, and he's had a heart attack. His father passed. It's like there is all those Shane and everybody. They're just. We have a relationship with them, and we turn on the camera, and we have to trust each other, and it's a relationship very similar to when a relationship that you have with whoever, or who and it's always painful. It has to be painful for both sides. It has to be complicated. And at the end, there's always just beautiful stuff that just kind of just gets better with time.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear his dad passed. Like, I've never met him, but the film, it really seemed like his dad was a big part of his life.
Yeah, and then and then like soon after that, he had a heart attack, and like we use all of those things and to tell a story, and I've never made a continuation or a sequel to a film, because our films feel very definitive, and they're like they're not a franchise based, or you can tell that the structure is just unique, and it's hard to just continue it. It has its birth and death, and this was the only thing that I've had this relationship with him. I met Kim the day his mother was murdered when he was 16. That was the day I met him, and it's lasted this long, and we kept in touch, and we made some beautiful things, and
Well, his mother was murdered?
Yeah.
Where did you meet him?
He was introduced to by my friend Dane Marks, which stars in the film as his buddy, which he was in the footage. You can tell it's all these folks, the best friends reunited doing Mardi Gras Curvet. and he was introduced to me by Dane Marks, and because I was playing music with Dane, and back in in '92, and and Kim just kind of he became part of the little gang we had, the little music noise gang, and I stayed in touch with him. And I didn't even know I had a script written for the first Shadow Zombie. Not a script. I had like 3 pages of notes, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great." And then when I saw him, and I realized the reality of things, everything shifted, and within days, I was on track to do the film that ended up being Shadow Zombie. But Shadow Zombie was a completely different film. It's about a girlfriend getting out of jail. It had nothing to do with. It was ideas. It was ideas in a page, and once I saw my instinct, that I think that's what makes Jason and I connect and be like, oh shit, that's not gonna happen. And instead of just like slapping my tail between my legs and walking off, it's like, oh no, this is the film, and you just shift and you just connect even deeper, and it's way more emotional that way. And it's just it's a thing to tapping and trusting, and documentary stuff. I think it's what really kind of grounded all that stuff for us.
Well, you two are amazing filmmakers, and I'm sorry I've been holding you hostage for this long, but I feel like I would have endless questions just trying to get a glimpse into how you even construct these powerful, emotional films that, they're everything I love about indie and like raw filmmaking straight from a filmmaker to the end product. Yet there's a tinge of horror. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. And I promised you a question, Jasadi. Do you have one? I'll turn on your mic. All right.
You asked a lot of the questions that I already had written down.
Strong start.
So, I mean, you guys answered it.
One question.
One question.
Make it good.
All right. It's gonna sound lame connected to his, because I had a lot of his, but when you're deciding on, when you're shooting your next film, how much does a camera and lenses plays a part into that, or do you kind of use what you already have?
Excellent question.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm a gearhead for sure, absolutely, and I've got way too many cameras. I do think that, picking for me, for instance, like, it's really weird. Jorge and I have been using cameras that are very like good and low light for a long time. Like, we shot the movie Fugue that he was talking about. We shot that with the Sony A7S.
Oh yeah.
Because it could shoot at 50,000 ISO and shoot in moonlight with no money. You know what I mean? So it's like, in a weird way, I like the idea of the technology being something that can help indie filmmakers with no budget. You know what I mean? Like, just because really for Toad Road at the time, I did convince a friend of mine who, was willing to invest. Like, I was like, look, just give me $10,000 just so I could buy the package that I wanted. And I was like, look, if I actually own the camera and the lights and the sound and the blah, 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 then I wouldn't need any money technically once you have that stuff, because then you can just make it, you don't have to rent anything, you own it. So I do think, like, in terms of just being able to get the job done, I think now there's so many great, cameras out there that do allow people to work with less money. You know what I mean? Like, even now, as sad as it is to say, but like, the new Sony cameras are really good at like autofocus now. So you can shoot, on like a 50 or an 85 1.4, and that thing will be tack sharp on the eye as they're walking towards you, which, a lot of hardcore filmmakers and DPs would say that's bullshit. But to be honest, it's like that technology alone will help make films happen that wouldn't have happened any other way. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I agree.
I think the technology is important to kind of prop you up and to give you an actual option of making certain images that you wouldn't make any other way. Like to be able to shoot in moonlight or to be able to shoot under a street light and have it look, properly exposed, so that you can see the people's faces. I mean, and that may not be what you want. You may want it to be all dark and you can't see anything, and that's fine too. But I do think that, the camera is very important to focus on and how you're going to actually do it. And hopefully, I think any filmmakers that are listening, you can absolutely make a film by yourself. Like, I know that it's counterintuitive to the process, and like you need the sound guy and you need this and you need that. But all of those things, honestly, with the technology the way that it is now, I mean, if you want to make the film and you have like a couple $1,000 to buy the camera and the lenses and the sound, you can make an amazing film.
Yeah. Just to quote like my good friend who's a DP, any camera that you get now today, you're good. Like I know there's a lot of debates and stuff. You've probably seen it too, being a gearhead. Like,
oh, absolutely.
It's like, oh, should you go with Sony? Should you go with Blackmagic? Should you go with Canon? And it's like any camera that you get right now is solid. The sensors are super good now and low light. I just picked up a Sony FX3, so I'm already knowing about that.
Okay, all right, you're bragging now. Okay, No, what I think is low light is great. I think if you got digital focus, that's cheating. It's like 007 with auto aim. No, my boy Jorge over here, he did this beautiful frame where this dude came over and grabbed one of his actors, and he auto focused with his fucking hand, bro, and it was beautiful.
Well, and I see, there you go. See, you're already knocking me. And I'm not saying I haven't. Now, to be honest, I haven't used and probably couldn't use autofocus for the work that I do because of you do want that organic quality. I mean, and it depends on what it is. I shoot a lot of different like things, and sometimes you just want the focus to be absolutely perfect, and then sometimes you want, if you're in a room and there's a lot going on, you're gonna have to pull focus. Like I don't want to turn this into like a thing about auto. I don't want to defend autofocus too much just yet.
Jason,
it is really lame, but I mean it is very powerful. That's all I'm trying to say.
I back him up. Because of him, I got to a point where I was filming with him for years, and I don't think I ever heard the word autofocus for years. I mean, it was
but autofocus never existed. But it just in the past year or two, it's actually come of age. Like it literally before this new round of cameras, starting like with a lot of the Sony. Probably I have the FX9, and the A7S III and the FX3. They all and this is really lame. This should not. You should absolutely cut all of this out of this. Yes, please,
cut it out.
Do me a favor and just really cut this out, because I don't want to.
No way.
No, I get what he's saying though, because people think now you're gonna have aspiring filmmakers that think, oh, I need to go out and get an FX9 because Jason Baker has an FX9, which it's not. It's not, and that's why I value about you guys, because it's not about the camera. I mean, you may choose it for certain things, like like you were saying with the A7S III. It's like it's a low light beast. Whereas, use what you got now. I think that's what you're trying to say.
No, and I think even something like the iPhone is like a totally legit. Like, have you seen Tangerine?
Oh yeah,
sure.
Like Tangerine looks beautiful, and you can use it like a little I actually have the anamorphic lens for the iPhone. I've shot with it some things, and it's pretty awesome. It's like, yes, any camera. And I think my point with just talking about the tech is that all of these advances are actually helping people. Like, you don't have to necessarily be a tech head to make something. I mean, like, some of these new technologies, like it really, like the low light, the autofocus, as much as I don't want to say that should be used, but it is something that some people will use, at some point. Like, it's only getting better.
No, you're fine. Michael Bay's in Criterion, so cinema's already died, and we get it.
I know. Well, and that's the thing. Like, the Alexa Mini, people will say, like, I work with so many like directors that will not shoot with anything besides like an Alexa Mini, just because they want that status, like people want to like the real tech heads, or even just to get respect in the industry, it's like you need a fucking $1 million budget, which is not true, you know? But people will say like, oh, what'd you shoot? You know, if you didn't shoot on an Alexa Mini with like Cook Pancrose, like that's garbage. You know what I mean? Which I don't think that's true. And I think that that's really also, I'm very out in left field as far as like, I have very little respect for the way that things are supposed to be, because you have to change with the times, you know? It's like there's new technology out there. These cameras look amazing. Like you shouldn't be not making a film because you can't afford an Alexa Mini. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
Dude, well put. Jasadi, you want to say bye?
Can I just end off real quick? All right.
Oh
I just want to
God.
say I thank y'all. Like your films are gorgeous, and it just really hit me like personally, especially like Shadow Zombie, even Toad Road 2. Like they're very personable films, like you said, like empathy horror.
Yeah.
Like I definitely get that, and yeah, like fuck the Alexa Mini. I mean, even though I want one.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
Okay,
Yeah,
Dude, Jason, Jorge, I love you both so much. I don't know what I would be watching if I didn't find your plethora of these beautiful art house horror films. Also, my takeaway here is that y'all both are still shooting shit. You're shooting stuff on an iPhone. When I want more, you got to put it out. Stop
I
hiding
know.
all your great work.
Well, maybe we'll send you some private links.
Oh, don't tease me. No, I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
thanks. This was great. Yeah.